What is going on, guys? My name is Jericho, and I got something incredibly special for you guys today. This is the HTC VIVE. Sonya and myself both got copies of the HTC Pre, or the VIVE Pre. I'm not really sure which one is the correct term. HTC VIVE Pre is probably it. And we got to play around and live stream for about 5 hours yesterday. So what I've done is I've actually taken a chunk of the live stream and cut it up so you have some interesting parts. And it's important to note that this is just one game that we're playing right now. And the reason I chose this footage is because I wanted to talk more about the system itself, VR as a whole, how the Vive compared to my expectations, as well as how it compares to the Samsung Gear VR or the Project Morpheus, which is PlayStation, or the Oculus Touch. All of which I have tried. I'm very well versed in VR, it seems. This is a game that is more here for you to, it's called Sculptor. It's here for you to try and kind of test what VR means to be in an open world where you can create anything. I'm just showing you guys kind of the controllers. What you guys see on the left-hand side is what I see. The aspect ratio is a little bit janky for this particular game because it is not, it does not have a 16:9 output. There are plenty of games, most of which had correct 16:9 output for stream. This one, obviously, not one of them. So, let's get down to business, and let me tell you a little bit about the Vive. So, again, I have had experience with every single VR system that is consumer, that is coming out soon for consumers. I've had Project Morpheus hands-on at E3 with the PlayStation, Oculus Touch hands-on at E3. Gear VR, I have one sitting next to me that I got yesterday. The Vive, obviously, I've now had 4 or 5 hours in it. Google Cardboard, and you know, these are all really awesome systems. They all do very different things, though, and I'll cover that towards the end. But the Vive, for the sake of argument, is my idea of what a VR system is going to be for people like us who are just want to live in an environment. So what I've done is I'm about to outline the in virtual reality limits of my room. It's a 6 foot by 6 foot room. It's actually in Sonya's Firefox's office, and it was the minimum that you can have. 10 by 10 is the amount that they recommend. And I can understand why, because the more freedom you have to walk around, the more freedom you have to, to explore the world in 3D. When you get close to the sensors, as you see there, and when I mean close enough that your controller and your headset are below and not necessarily being directly tracked with both of the infrared sensors, there are some issues. So that's why a larger system or a larger room is better. Now, in terms of everybody's first question, will I get motion sick? The answer is no. When I tried the original Oculus, when it had the developer console, 480p, etc., it made me motion sick. It was not a good enough resolution. The latency was bad, so when you moved side to side, etc., it would drag behind your your movements, and as a result, it made me feel sick. I get really bad car sickness, and as I can't sit in the back seat. This is not a problem with the Vive. Sonya, the girl that you guys see up there, is absolutely the most afraid of motion sickness. She is terrified of it. And the reason that there is not motion sickness is mostly because of the resolution, the lack of latency between the actions that you're doing with your body and what you're seeing on screen. And you know, I'm sure there's some more technical stuff in here, but those were the two major changes since I, first tried VR and actually got sick. There is definitely a selection of games that will make you nauseous. Those tend to be ones that are controlled via the controller, where your character is being moved and your head is kind of like on a swivel. And that just has to do with you moving and seeing your body move, but you physically aren't moving in real life, I guess, is my very layman's explanation. So, now that we got that out of the way, how does it perform? I mean, honestly, I was stunned at the fact that it was so good at tracking everything that I wanted to do. It is kind of hard to build and create in 3D space. It's not prohibitively hard, whereas, I can't do anything about it, but if you're trying to draw very precise items, objects, etc., it does take some time to get used to it. The whole space in this game, it really does lend itself to having you forget that you're in a confined room, and that is so cool. It is a great and really interesting phenomena to be lost inside of your tiny little space. I mean, it really does seem to be expansive and endless, and I ran into the wall a few times, and that's just kind of like what happens. But the way that this program, as well as all the games that we tried out, function, it's not like this is some janky beta, like, yeah, look, we could totally try and do this. This is ready for everybody to get it. Like, I understand this is not the premium, you know, the best of the best, like 100% kinks worked out, but I would buy an HTC VIVE as well as other VR systems right now, if you have the computer that can handle it. So the biggest issue that we came across is that the computer specs minimum requirements on HTC's website quote a 980 Ti as well as some extremely high-end CPUs. We don't really have that problem because we do have some large and beefy gaming rigs, but these games are incredibly intensive CPU-wise, maybe a little less GPU-wise, but and it shows. It really does. It was tough to record locally while streaming this, and that's not usually a problem we have using VR or using using games to stream. Now, this is a great game to show off what you can do in virtual reality. It's like a demo game, a hardware test game almost, I would call it, where it just shows off all the possibilities of things that you can do in virtual reality. I did play games that were built for VR. One was a space pirate training. I don't know if that's actually the exact title. Job simulator, and a few others that really exemplify. What was it? Jebo Man. I do have some clips here. I'm sorry that it looks bit-ratey, but again, we had to stop recording, so this is ripped from the VOD. I'm gonna switch back to the building gameplay in a second here. But these are astoundingly good-looking games, to the point that when I got put in, this is what I think of when I see VR. I think of the building and kind of Minecraft-esque free world roam games. And then you put me into a game that was built in this 3D space where I can look around and interact with bullets and interact with enemies and shoot things and swap weapons. I mean, it really does open up the mind to incredible possibilities with immersive AAA titles. None of these games are AAA titles. All of them are very much like, holy shit, look at what we can do with the Vive. And that's fine. That is fucking fine. What you guys are watching right now, by the way, is you're seeing the setup of the room. Sonya's just controlling this. You saw the 2 infrared cameras, so there's not a lot of space here. If you're gonna ask for my bottom line summary of the Vive, it blew me away and I expected a lot. The seamlessness and the ability to interact with the environment in a way that is very polished is something that I didn't expect. And I don't know if it's because I'm being spoiled by a company that actually does A&R and testing on their products before they announce a beta or announce a developer kit, but I am above and beyond a believer. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, we've got some important distinctions to make, and I feel like people aren't necessarily on the same page here. And let's talk about VR as a whole. I have, like I said, tried every single VR system that I know of, that besides open source VR, which is like the Razer VR system. And I understand after using them that they all have certain uses and benefits as well as drawbacks. Let's take the Vive, for example. If you do not have the 2 cameras mounted in the corner of your room with a space for you to run around and interact with the world, you are not taking advantage of the Vive as a whole, and it really is losing a lot of its luster. The Oculus Touch, as well as the Oculus as a whole, does not have this full room scale environment. So you are confined to a small space, think sitting, standing. Same with the Morpheus, the PlayStation VR system, and even less to an extent with Samsung's Gear VR or other mobile VR systems like Google Cardboard, which are more just pop it in and there you go. And that might seem at the start, people might be like, well, why would I want anything that wasn't full room? Because it's hard to find an empty room in your house. Like, we have a plenty of space in our home, and we're using like a makeshift area in our office by moving desks away. it's hard to find a big space like that. And the enthusiasts that are going to get the HTC Vive also are going to have extremely high-end gaming PCs able to run, or streaming PCs able to run this content in a fluid and really good quality environment. That's just fact that there are prohibitive costs. By the way, this is some Bob Ross level shit. One of the coolest things that I think I was able to do. It was really awesome. And it's just, there's a lot of upfront costs that you need to get that is not just the headset to get going on VR for the Vive. That's not bad. For me, that's fine. I already have a lot of the equipment, so I'm just getting to reap the benefits of having an amazing VR system, taking control of my pre-built, my prior built computer. Then you go to the Oculus and stuff. And maybe that works better in a confined room or space where normal people are going to be sitting at their desk just looking to be put in a VR scenario, not explore a VR area. Does that make sense? Where you're kind of thrown into a static space and, imagine you're sitting at your desk, but in VR. That's what I'm talking about, where you can't move your character or your body. That's what the Oculus is doing, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I can see the benefits for it, but I felt the biggest strength of the Vive was my ability to get up and move around and really interact with the environment in the space that I'd created. So then we go even farther and we go all the way down to the mobile VR section where Gear VR is. And Gear VR, I've had the pleasure of, having hands-on before I got it, but I also did get it yesterday. I played around with it. Yes, I did porn, just letting you know. And Gear VR is at the core what I believe the everyday VR is going to be. You pop it in, you pop your phone into the VR system. It takes 12 seconds, literally, to open it up, put it in, shut it up, put it on. That's it. And you're ready to go. Whatever app you've opened, it's good to go. The difference, the huge difference, is that if you're going to watch a YouTube video or a Twitch video or a movie in VR or do anything like that, you're not going to use the Vive. You're not going to get up, plug in your cameras and hardware, plug in the 5 cables into the back of your computer, reroute your monitor so you can use, because you have to use the graphics card, and then set up the cameras and then sit down in the middle of this room. I mean, maybe you will. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can do that by just snapping your phone into the Gear VR. And I did it, and it worked amazingly. It was like sitting in a movie theater. Just, there's a huge-ass screen in front of you. It really is the more traditional idea of everyday VR. If you want to go into a meeting room, if you want to go watch a video, you want to look at a picture in 3D, you're not going to do it on HTC or Oculus. Realistically, you're doing it on your cell phone. And in that, I feel like there are 2 different categories of VR, right? You have the powerhouse. You've got the quote-unquote PC Master Race Vive. That is what that is. Then you go all the way over and you've got the mobile solution, the easygoing, the very convenient solution. There you go. You got your cell phone. You got the Google Cardboard. You've got the ability to do these things that are completely different from each other, but both in the same VR space. And I think that's the big distinction that people need to make. You are ultimately going to use different VR systems for different things, and it's reflected in the price. The Gear VR is $99. It also has a little bit, it's way lighter because it just has 2 lenses and it's a plastic housing unit. Versus the Vive, which has infrared sensors, etc. That thing is super, heavy when you're holding it in your hands. It's not heavy when you're wearing it. The straps do a great job of supporting it. So I think that intrinsically there is a huge difference between every single VR system and what you can expect to get out of every VR system. I think that once everybody understands that, there's going to be a lot of different reasons for people to do different VR systems and use different VR systems in the way that they're probably best suited. I really do feel like on the day-to-day surface, if you're just going to be watching something or you don't want to disturb people or you're in bed late at night or whatever, you pop in the Gear VR. That's what you're going to do. And it's light enough. I can just throw it in my backpack and that's that. But the Vive is like moving a PC. In fact, you do have to move a PC if you don't have one at the spot that you're going to. So it's a lot more intensive. That said, the things that you can do with the Vive are not even comparable to the things that you can do with the Gear VR. They're not really comparable to the things you can do with the Oculus in terms of the 3D space. And I see the benefit for both. I personally had a lot more fun if we're talking about just, what would you rather do? I want to go and fucking play in the 3D world in the Vive. To wrap all this rambling up in the 15 minutes I spent yelling at you about my excitement for VR, VR is absolutely the next big thing. It is the next big thing because it is not limited to high-end games. It is not limited to basic day-to-day tasks. It can do both of these in ways that you are not expecting, in ways that you did not know were possible, and I see an incredible value in companies selling experiences where you just get to explore your favorite world. Imagine walking around in the Simpsons home, or Bikini Bottom, or you know, any of these things. Exploring your favorite Hogwarts, man. Imagine exploring Hogwarts in 3D. Doing that sort of exploration, that can happen on any VR system. Then you get into games like LA Noire, where you're a detective and your entire point is to find and catch a criminal. And imagine being thrown into a house where you get to overturn every piece of paper and look through every drawer and, you know, pick up things and examine them and move stuff around. That's where the real excitement in terms of immersion is coming from me. But on the day-to-day, college classes, you know, long-distance chats, etc., that's all going to be on your phone. I was skeptical at first because I thought, you know, phone, mobile processing and stuff, I really don't want to be let down. It was very surprisingly good. I think we've come far enough in technology and as well as the cell phone tech spec race that we can reliably say, you know what? You know, for what it needs to do in competing with other day-to-day use VR, yeah, I think that using your cell phone as the screen, completely fine. Will it ever compete with the Vive or the Morpheus or the Oculus? Probably not. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. If you want to check out my unboxing of the HTC VIVE, go ahead and check out the link in the description below. Otherwise, I will see you guys later for hopefully some more VR streams. Peace.